think about this for a second. If you were to treat your parents, your friends, your pastor, the people in your world, if you were to treat them and talk to them the way you talk to yourself, how long would it be before you had no friends anymore? I want you to think about that. Because the Bible is clear, and the second commandment is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Treat other people the same way you not want to be treated. We've changed it. We say, hey, treat others the way you want to be treated. No. It's treat others the way you treat yourself.
You like this, you like in Daddy's arms with the microphone stuff. You like being a worker. You're made for the camera. Both my boys are.
Hey, this video you are about to watch is a part of a series where I show you how to quit porn the right way. So do yourself a favor, binge on all of this content, all the videos that you possibly can, because who knows, maybe if the value and the trust is built together over this journey, you'll want to jump into a community that I call Fit for Family. Or maybe you think these videos suck, and that's also fair too. But nonetheless, there's only one way for us to find out. So enough of me, let's get back to serving you, and let's get back to the video. What if I told you that God gave us a commandment to love ourselves? A lot of Christians have beef with this, have a misunderstanding of the heart of God behind why it's so important and biblical, and even a commandment to love who we are. When we talk about loving who we are, a lot of times we get it mixed up. We try to love the version of us that comes with ego, with pride, that feels self-centered, self-seeking, self-absorbed, entitled, and where we make it really all about the self. And we're like, why are we doing that? Why would I want to love myself? Isn't the whole point that I love other people, that I don't love myself? Isn't the point that I have been selfish and too filled with self, and then I need to rid myself of it? So I want to create some clarity there, and I want to bring you on an exercise of something that God has actually used to transform my life. This one exercise God used for over a year to transform my inner narrative, my self-talk, how I spoke about myself, how I showed up in the world, and broke off so much shame. So again, this is going to be a seed that I want to give you, that if you tend it and you water it and you steward it with God, it'll actually build something magical and beautiful and heavenly in your life. So here's what the idea that I want to communicate to you is: when we talk about loving ourselves and learning to love ourselves, a lot of us struggle with shame. We go to porn not because we love pornography, but because we have been addicted to primarily shame. And that shame right there is coming with a lot of terrible messages, of hate messages about our identity and how much we suck. No one's going to be there for me. Nobody loves me. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm not capable. I'm not good looking. I'm not skilled. I'm not talented. And because of all those identity statements that shame's created, we want to fall down a rabbit hole of self-destructive patterns, because that's the identity that we believe we have. If we're good for nothing, then we're going to make choices that are good for nothing. Now, when it comes to loving ourselves, here's what's interesting. In Leviticus 19:18, it says to love your neighbor as you love yourself. We focus on the first half of that verse, don't we? We say, hey, the first commandment is to love the Lord your God, as it says in Matthew and in Mark, to love your Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, your strength. And then the second, it's kind of like it, is to love your neighbor. But the whole verse is actually to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And the reason why it's so important is because that loving your neighbor was meant to be a reflection of how much love you actually had for you. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. If you were to treat your parents, your friends, your pastor, the people in your world, if you were to treat them and talk to them the way you talk to yourself, how long would it be before you had no friends anymore? I want you to think about that. Because the Bible is clear, and the second commandment is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Treat other people the same way you not want to be treated. We've changed it. We say, hey, treat others the way you want to be treated. No. It's treat others the way you treat yourself. That was meant to be a very liberating concept for people, because people back then had a different idea and ideology on what it meant to love themselves, where they had honor, they had pride, they carried a stronger self-esteem about who they were. And so when the Lord was actually giving that commandment, it was because they held grudges, bitterness, anger, resentment, hostility towards people that were not like them, towards people that weren't around them. And so then God created this idea. He's like, okay, I'm going to give you a new law here, a new rule, because I wanted to liberate you and them. I want you to love them as much as you love you. There was a healthy sense of pride that these people took in themselves, and God knew that. But nowadays, in this day and age, we don't do that. We hate ourselves. We struggle with being kind to ourselves. And so we put on this front, and we share that we love other people. And we say, I love you so much, and we're people pleasers, which people pleasers love everybody but hate themselves. And with people pleasers, everybody loves them except them. And that was me, is I loved everybody, but I hated my own guts, which truly meant that I couldn't actually love other people because I didn't understand that I could only give away what I had. So my love for other people in a way was shallow. It was surface level. It wasn't anything deep or profound because I could only love people to the degree in which I love myself. And God taught me this. He's like, Matt, this is your biggest handicap. Is he's like, in your life, he's like, you actually don't like you. I take issue with that because you're made in my image. And if you're saying you don't like who you are, you're actually spitting in my face and telling me that you don't like me. And I thought that I was just saying, oh no, God, it's not that I don't like me, I just don't like all the bad things I'm doing. He's like, yeah, but I don't judge you that way. I don't see you that way. I don't think of you that way. I don't shame you that way. I don't criticize you that way. See, Jesus, when speaking to the Pharisees, he'd say to them, you judge according to the flesh. I judge no one. Dude, that's one of like the most profound statements I've ever heard someone speak, especially from Jesus in the Bible, where he says, you judge according to the flesh. I judge no one. And we are to have the mind of Christ. That's what Paul said. And we're supposed to walk in that. Not supposed to, like we're shamed, but this is something that we're liberated into. And so when I didn't realize, oh my gosh, that I've been spitting on the face of God, I have been hating on him because I've been hating on me. And when you tear yourself down, you're ultimately tearing down the image of the one that you're made in God. And so God sat me down, he challenged me, he really, really pruned me here, and he gave me this exercise that I want to share with you right now. Every night before you go to bed, I want you to do something simple, because this is when our negative talk really fills up, right? Maybe you went to porn, maybe you made a mistake, maybe you did something that you wished you didn't do, maybe you're in other sin, and you feel really, really, really down. You want to hate your guts. You feel like you're deserving of the punishment and the beating that you want to give you. Here's what God did with me. He said, Matt, I want you, and he did this through the form of my leaders, my pastors, my counselors, the people that I had in my life that I was committed to seeing me become better. So when I say God spoke to me, I didn't mean audibly. I just meant because God always works and speaks through his people. But one of my leaders challenged me, and this is what I felt like God was telling me to do, was to go to my room, and as I'm laying my head to bed, sleeping at night, he said, God told me to tell myself 10 things that I'm proud of that I did that day. 10 things. And he's like, I want you to start partnering with me. I want you to start partnering with my love, with my spirit, with my presence. And he's like, if you want to be more connected to me, you need to learn how to be more connected to yourself. If you want to receive love from me, you need to receive love from you. And what he taught me, and I didn't realize this, but it's so profoundly true, is that you can only receive the love of God to the degree in which you receive love from yourself. Because if you accept love from you, you are accepting love from God, because the two have become one. We are in union with God. The two have become one flesh. His spirit and our spirit are molding together. It's meant to be water and oil. You're not really sure how to separate the two, and we've somehow tried so hard to create this division. And so what God started to do in me was a practical, simple, childlike exercise. Again, the Bible's clear. Become like a child. You can't enter into the kingdom unless you become like a child. And so when I did this with God, it changed my whole life. I was used to shaming me, hating me, blaming me, tearing me down, cutting me up, being all sorts of nasty. And then I started to tell myself, and he said, one of my leaders said, Matt, if you struggle to tell yourself 10 things that you did that night well, he's like, it's fine. I want you to tell yourself 20. And I'm not kidding you guys. For about the first month, I had to tell myself 20 things that I was proud of that I did that day, because I had no clue how to do 10. And I laid there for a long time. But as I started to do that and build that muscle with God, I actually started to find enjoyment in it. And then I would do 30 and 40 and 50. And so what people get confused by here is they think it's going to make them more arrogant, more pompous, more hot-headed. But for me, I struggled with so much low self-worth, so much shame, so much brokenness within myself, that I actually needed to learn to believe in myself the way God believes in me, see myself the way God sees me. And so for most people, they don't struggle with like the arrogance and the fear of getting super prideful and inflated. We actually struggle to be able to really believe in ourselves. especially as someone who struggles with porn, where we break our integrity and our confidence and our self-esteem over and over and over again. And so this really set me up for success, and that's something that I want you to do. This is an exercise for you to do as you go to bed, and then I would love for you to share it with the group, bring it to us, and tell us, what you thought of that. How did this challenge you? What do you think that was like for you? Was it difficult? Why? I had to uncomfortably wade into it, where I literally had to sit there for like 5 minutes before I could think of one more thing to tell myself, and I had to really change it. I was like, you know what? Then I finally broke the barrier, and I was like, you know what? I think it was like my 4th one or my 5th one is like, I'm actually just proud of myself for doing this exercise. And I made that one of mine because I had no idea that God saw me through a better lens view. And I was so used to just rehearsing all the negative that I was doing throughout that day. This is going to help begin to break the pattern. And so for this became a consistent practice for me that revolutionized my life. It broke off self-hatred and shame and guilt and condemnation. Obviously, there's a lot of other work that I put into this process than just that, but that was a huge staple for me, and that's why I felt in my heart to want to share this with you, so it could be a staple, so you could begin to break off all the negative, stinking thinking that you've been ruminating in and marinating by, and actually get yourself a better word, and begin to love your neighbor as you love yourself. It's a commandment. It's something that we ought to want to obey, and I wanted to strip that apart with you for a minute so you can maybe understand the differences and why it's a healthy and beautiful and God-centered thing to want to obey this commandment, because ultimately, the more you have love for you, the more love you're able to give to other people. You can only give that which you have. So God can't give us hatred. He can't hate you because he is love. He doesn't have hatred to give. That's why he can't give it. And so in the same way, I want to learn how to love myself biblically, appropriately. That's going to come with a lot of humility so that I can love you better. I can love my family, my wife, my kids, and the world around me. I hope this serves you. I hope this is something beautiful for you that you can do with God. And I'd love to hear what this exercise becomes for you. I love you tons, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey, real quick, if you like that video that you just saw, or if you want to see even better videos than this in a series that I made called Annihilate Porn to help guys or girls like you quit porn, you can subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't forget any alerts, comment, like, all that jazz, and more importantly, check out the next video that's going to take you even further on the journey from where you are to where you want to be. I love you tons. I'll catch you in the next one.